Hey y'all! And welcome to the Sorry Not Sorry Generation podcast, where we bring you a not-so-healthy dose of humor and reality as we get our hands dirty with some serious nostalgia and question everything.
Let's dive in.
You know, for the nearly headless Nick one, if you gave me a multiple choice one, I would probably remember that.
Well, that's more than me, because I would have just stared at it for an eternity before I'm like, nearly headless Nick. Sir Nicholas Peabody. Fuck if I know.
Okay, number 3, I know, right? No. What is number 3? Aconite. The fuck is Aconite?
Oh, I do remember that one. They mentioned that in the movie.
How
And
many
I just happen to
staircases?
know that because I read a lot of werewolf shit. So,
Alright.
what
How
does the
many...
scar above Albus Dumbledore's left knee look like?
A star?
Nope. Really weirdly specific. It is it
peanut.
is an exact map of the London Underground.
Yeah, alright, that's not a... That was done on purpose, I bet you anything.
You'd like to think so. Otherwise, what the fuck?
How many staircases in Hogwarts? Like 422 or something? 142, I'm sorry.
Like, one of these questions is Hermione changes the leaves of the Weasley's crabapple tree into a specific color for Harry's 17th birthday. What color is it? It's so fucking specific. Oh my god. Okay, now
I didn't know that there were. Sorry, I didn't know that there were 700 possible fouls in Quidditch.
It's a lot of fucking fouls. But here's something I didn't know: is what is the maximum speed a firebolt broomstick can reach? It's 150 miles an hour. How is Harry not dead? How is this child not dead? What the actual?
You don't want to ride on a broom at 150 miles an hour?
No, I wouldn't want to ride 150 miles an hour. 3, 2, 1. Hey y'all,
Hey y'all,
it's Misty,
it's Ani.
and we are watching The Prisoner of Azkaban.
That is very, very gold.
Like the background is just so gold. Why is it gold? Like it doesn't need to be gold. That's so weird. Nothing about Prisoner of Azkaban strikes me as gold. Like there's no hope in this movie. There's an escaped convict, like who's wrongly accused of murder, chasing Harry to what he thinks is to murder him and his own parents' murder. Arguably, this is one of the most depressing books of all of the series. Like it's not the most depressing one, but it is one of the top like 3.
It is, but it's also when, the reason why it's everyone's favorite is because that's when everything starts. The action starts, the story picks up.
Well, that's when my favorite character is introduced, and that would be Sirius Black. So
Yes, and then a
my
couple
man
books
right
later,
there.
and, rip your heart out.
I know. Book 5 is my favorite, and it's because
Really?
it's because of the high serious content that's in it. So I was very disappointed by 4 because he was not in it nearly enough for me. But
I really liked 4 solely because I ended up liking 4 a lot because I read it 7 times in one summer. I had nothing else to do.
That's fair. And the nice thing about it too is it's such like the 4, 5, and 6 especially are such huge books. There's just a lot to go through. I've probably read 6 the most, but 5 is my favorite. So
I remember back when I was an undergrad, I would see these classes very few times in the English department. It was by one specific professor. I don't remember her name, but I can probably pick her out of like an alumni lineup if she's still working there or whatever.
Yeah.
But she hosted a couple classes. Like one of them was like going deep into like Order of the Phoenix theory, like literary theory and everything. I'm like, I'd be interested, only I wouldn't take it because she's be a really strict teacher. So I'm just like, nah, I can't do that.
Like you want to kind of have fun with it. You don't
Exactly.
really want to, you don't want to have a class that's so strict and unfun that it ruins Harry Potter for you.
But she had that, and I think she had one for the 6th one too. And I'm just like, I want to take a fucking Harry Potter course, but at the time it was only for grad students. I'm like, fuck you.
That's fair. I know in line with weird or interesting classes you can take, you can major for a language in Klingon at a couple of universities. So
In
because
Klingon.
in Klingon, yeah. Well, the thing is Gene Roddenberry, the guy who created Star Trek, created multiple fleshed out languages when he did it. Klingon was one of them. I believe the Vulcan language is a fully fleshed out language too. And so he created multiple languages when he did it. Just like Tolkien, his Elvish language is a fully fleshed out language. He was a linguist. Like that was his
Yep.
forte. So he created multiple.
And
I
that is insane.
Yeah, creating your own language, I can't even begin to fathom. Like he created Elvish, I think Dwarven is a fully
There
fleshed
is
out
a
language too.
an account that I follow, a
Mhm.
girl, and she's heavy in the Sarah J. Moss like Court of Thorns and Roses scene,
Yeah.
and I think her name is Mads Schofield. This girl, A, is amazing artist. B,
Mm.
she created her own language that like fits that world.
Wow.
And I'm just
Okay.
like, how? How in the fuck did you manage to do that?
No shit. That's
Or like a
impressive.
font for the yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's crazy. That's a lot. Jeez, I couldn't do that. Like I could create an entire like history and mythology of a world, but I couldn't create
a language.
a whole language. Like no, my concept and grasp of grammar is too weak for that. So
There.
I like how the description for this movie is the young wizard and his friends confront Sirius Black, a fugitive with ties to Harry's past. That is the base barest minimum you could have like reduced this movie to. Like you could not have found a simpler sentence to deal with this movie. It just to be like,
The person in charge of writing these little synopses was just not having it.
yeah.
What?
um we will likely, as we go through the movie, be reading off some trivia questions to each other,
Oh yeah.
and, and just to see how well we know. Some of it's Azkaban specific, some of it's just Harry Potter in general, and we're gonna find out how well we know probably the book both of us have read the least. So maybe one,
Okay.
yeah. Like
Okay.
Chamber of Secrets is probably the one I've read the least because I think I've read it a grand total of once. So, but this one's
I've
pretty.
officially read all of them twice. The
Yeah.
fourth one about 8 times,
Mm.
and the seventh one about 5 times now.
I've read the first one a couple times. Second and third one are kind of spotty. Fourth one once. I don't think I reread. I've reread parts of it. I didn't reread the whole thing. Five, I've reread several times. Six, I've reread the most. And then the last one, I think I've reread about 3 times. So
Okay.
I tend to reread five and six the most. So
That's fair.
there's still the barest minimum of hope in there before it all just goes to shit. So, but
On
more
top,
than anything, I just read a lot of Harry Potter fan fiction.
eh,
So,
like I know
like,
a fanfic is not gonna have like I'm actually I shouldn't say that. I would not be surprised if there is fanfic of who like of who the answer to this question is. So Misty,
hmm,
who is the wizard who can be seen teaching the trolls ballet in a tapestry across the wall in the room of requirement?
Boris.
I mean, it's a bus, so you're not that far.
Bartholomew.
Closer, but no. Barnabas the Barmy.
Sure. Sure.
Now,
Sure.
I'm sure there's fanfic with this guy in it somewhere out there in the
Oh,
world.
there's fan fictions of all kinds of things. I wouldn't be surprised. So,
Like, I'm sure there's like an origin story to how this specific tapestry happened to be in Hogwarts.
possibly, yeah. I mean, I've read fan fiction about how Ollivander makes his wands. I've read fan fiction. I've read some really specific niche fan fiction in all honesty. There's some weird ones out there about just the life and times and misadventures of the Sorting Hat.
Here's another
Um,
one. In Harry's sixth year, an apparition instructor joins Hogwarts. What is his name? I don't remember this at all.
I do. because they had to take the license like exam for it, and like people were like splinching off legs and stuff like that. Edwin Goodyear.
No.
Such a guess. It's such a guess. Matthew.
You're going too muggle. You gotta get weirder.
Oh, I'm gonna go with Bartholomew Yorkshire.
No, it's Wilkie Twycross.
What? None of that is a word. None of those are words.
Wilkie Twycross.
It's not a word. That's not a
That's
word.
a name.
It's not. No, it's not. It is not. I can also dump a Scrabble bag of letters on the ground and throw it together and call it a name. Like, that doesn't make it a name. No, it does not. Is this from like the really hard quiz?
Yep, I'm just picking out random ones.
Oh, of course, the bottom ones are easier.
That one was easy.
Which character did Ron impersonate to steal Slytherin's locket when they're in the Ministry of Magic?
I always forget his name.
Now, it's a real sounding first name if old fashioned. The other one sounds like a relative of Rufus, the naked mole rat. Sounds like a relative of his. Aragog has a wife?
What? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure out this guy's name, but
Aragog has a wife.
Since when? I mean, he had children, obviously, but
But he has a wife. Their spider marriage? I'm sorry. Who's officiating that? Hagrid. Hagrid's officiating that.
Of course, Hagrid's officiating that. Who else would do it?
Her name is Mosag. Mosag.
That's a terrible name.
Mossag, I guess you could also say it. But he has a wife. Did you figure out the name?
No. What is the name?
Reginald Cattermole.
Cattermole. Reginald Cattermole.
Who was the very first prisoner to escape Azkaban?
Very first?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
Like after?
No, very first.
Very first. I should know this.
I would say I thought it was Sirius, and it's not.
No,
so.
it's not. Grindelwald? No. It's Barty Crouch Jr.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Very good.
I remember that. That story of how he got out of there. His mom took his place.
Yeah, that's stupid.
And then they buried his mom in the prison yard because no one really bothered to check. Just a body.
Fair point. Who are the only known characters to receive all 12 owls? There are 3.
Say that one more time.
Who are the only known characters to receive all 12 owls? There are 3.
Are they all equal in age range?
2 of them are much closer together than the other one. There's not like a significant difference between them, but there's 2 of them that would have been much closer in age than the other one. I could narrow it down to a little and say 2 of them are related and one of them is not. And McGonagall is too old. You gotta think younger.
Okay, younger. They're related? I mean...
You know all 3 of these characters.
I'm sure I do, and I can't place them.
I'll give you another hint if you want one.
Yes.
Let's see. Well, we just talked about one of them.
Great, you're asking me for my short-term memory.
Two of them are good guys, and one of them is not.
We just talked about them, and 2 of them are good guys.
And the one we just talked about is a bad guy.
This is why short-term is terrible for me. What the fuck we're talking about?
What was the other question we were just talking about? We were talking about Azkaban.
Oh. Mad-Eye?
Close.
Barty Jr.?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Really? Barty Jr.?
Yeah. Barty Crouch Jr. got all 12 of his owls. Now, the other 2 are good guys, and they're related. Which family do you know that you can automatically assume has siblings in it?
I mean, the Weasleys, but I don't think the twins are going to be... Really? The twins?
Mm-mm.
No, not the twins.
I mean, the twins didn't even finish school.
Exactly. So... I'm like, well, they can't be the twins.
No.
Hermione's not part of it. Ginny?
Mm-mm.
Molly.
No.
Oh.
Younger. It's one of her kids. Two of her kids.
Percy.
Yeah, that's one.
Oh, was it Charlie or Bill? Charlie.
Nope.
Bill?
Bill. Yeah. Percy, Bill, and Barty Crouch Jr.
Huh.
Yeah. I wouldn't have guessed Bill. I mean, like it's very obvious that he's smart considering what he does, but Barty Crouch Jr. I wouldn't have guessed at all because you don't really talk about how smart he was. Percy I should have guessed. Just like but I would have guessed like Percy, Hermione, and like I probably would have thrown a name out there for the third one. But I wouldn't have guessed Bill and I wouldn't have guessed Barty Crouch Jr.
Like, I'm not surprised by the answer, but still.
Fair.
When you said they were related, I don't know why, but my mind went to Sirius and Regulus.
Fair point. Regulus is supposed to have been really smart, so I mean, and the Marauders would have had to have been smart considering the map that they created. So, like that makes sense.
Exactly. On the other hand of that, I was going, Molly or Bellatrix. One is good, one is bad.
Yeah. No, but all much younger. So, which is a
All
surprise.
right.
One last question before we start the movie.
Okay.
What are the names of Snape's parents?
Fuck me.
Can you give me the last name of his mom at least?
Oh, she's in the display. Oh, in the
She's in a
control.
book title.
Yeah, the book title, not it's in the display or something. Fuck, what's her name? I can't like it's there and I can't remember it.
It's a Harry Potter book title.
Prince. Her name is Prince.
There you go. Because his dad's name is Snape. It's Tobias Snape and Aline Prince.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, needless to say, this movie is going to be interesting because we're going to debate trivia and just feel a little bit like morons if we keep going from this particular quiz. So, which has some of these questions on here is just ridiculous. Like one of them was like, "What is the well, like for one thing, what is Aragog's wife's name? Like, I didn't even fucking know he had a wife. Like, holy shit! Like, I didn't know that." Some of these questions are like, what is the Bulgarian Minister of Magic called? Like, why would I know that? He's not called Minister of Magic. He's called Oblansk. So, like, why would I know that?
Why?
I have no idea. All right, play this movie. Let's
All
do
right,
this.
let's play.
Let's
Go
to Azkaban. Let's not.
Let's
though
not
my
stay in
mental health would not
Azkaban.
survive.
How about
My
that?
mental-
Let's not, we
my
can
mental
go.
health
We
wouldn't-
just won't stay.
My mental health wouldn't survive it. Like, and I'm not confident I have a memory powerful enough to conjure a strong Patronus. So, like, I don't know. So, I mean, it's always something that's always bothered me is that I have no idea what memory I would use to conjure a Patronus. Like, it
I have
just
thought
draws
about that too, and
blank.
I'm like, I don't know which one would be my happiest memory because the more I think about it, I'm like, nothing is coming to mind.
Yeah. Like every time I think I sit and think about it, like what would be that like none of them like stick out strong enough to pull from them. But then again, Harry didn't use a real memory either. Like he used a thought of like sitting and speaking with his parents. So like I could use that, but I couldn't oh god, this movie has just started and I have a problem.
We are 1 minute and 8 seconds in. What is the problem? I am ready to hear it.
Okay, it pisses me off too because fucking Harry, how incompetent are you? First of all, Harry is reading under the covers, right? He's got his sheet over him and he's huddled in and he's trying to read something. He's casting Lumos repetitively. Why? Lumos, you cast it and your wand just fucking lights up. It doesn't like blink in and out like a fucking lighthouse, Harry. Like, what the hell? Just cast Lumos and concentrate and hold it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Or better yet, if it's sputtering, use a fucking flashlight.
Like,
You don't have to like
Harry.
whisper to or like use
Yeah.
a flashlight. That's what he was using before he found out he was a wizard. Go back to using a fucking flashlight.
Yeah, instead he's got his bedroom door and windows looking like a fucking beach lighthouse as he just flashes in and out. Like, Harry, of course Vernon comes through the door. Everybody and their mother-in-law can see the fact that it looks like you got fireworks going off in your room. Kid, just fucking cast Lumos and leave it alone. And for the record, look, I've had to do this. If you need to like close off your room so nobody can tell that there's light coming out of it, tack a sheet over the top. Or if you've got like solid like on the top and the base, but it's just the bottom that you're worried
Put a
about.
blanket on the bottom.
Yeah, just put a blanket on the bottom. Make sure you fold it so like it doesn't get squished like underneath the door so people can see it. But just put it like right there in front of the door so people don't notice. Like, Jesus, Harry, I know you're a wizard now, but some fucking common sense, child.
Like,
Common sense and concentrate.
a lot of the kids that I read in my fantasy books, like before they hit 14, knew of all these tips and tricks.
Yeah, and like, Harry, dear, I know you're like 13 at this point, but don't be stupid. Like, but then again, every chosen one in these types of novels is a fucking moron. There's never an intelligent chosen one. It's
That's
always
true.
one who's just because like people like Dumbledore and things like that don't choose chosen ones that are smart enough to like push back or fight back or anything like that. They just pick somebody who's just stupid enough to go along for the ride.
This is true.
I also like the fact that we're both wearing Harry Potter shirts.
Yeah, is that the one I got you?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
solemnly
yay.
swear a lot. It's
This
very
is I
accurate.
got this from the Warner Brothers tour.
That's cute.
The black is fuzzy.
Aw.
Seriously, why is your lumos flickering in and out?
He's practicing Lumos Maxima, like, child. Why are you doing it at night? Do it during the day when people don't fucking notice.
But then how is he gonna notice?
And Vernon is just so confused. Also, Harry, dear, where did you get that drawing of an owl on your wall? Did you do that?
You
It's
probably did.
adorable. It's not Hedwig, but it's adorable because it's a brown owl, but
You know, it took me a long time to realize that Aunt Marge is the Trunchbull from Matilda.
oh, really? Okay.
Yep. And apparently they're doing a remake of Matilda or something, and she's coming back to be the Trunchbull again.
Oh, well, good for her. Oh, I was wondering what that noise was. It's Aaron.
Huh? Oh. Sweet. Why is everyone so fucking disgustingly obsessed with Dudley?
I have no idea. I really, really don't.
Everyone
But
just keeps calling him, Duddykins or Duddy Poo. Like, relax.
also, is this not the ugliest fucking interior for a house you've ever seen in your life?
Yes, it
It
is. I
looks like
also,
something my great grandmother would have in her house. Like,
I,
everything about it is just horrid and
I
ancient
also
looking.
want to know why Petunia lets Marge let her dog eat off the plate off the floor. Like, Petunia's too uptight for that shit. How can she possibly let her do that? And out of a
The
cup, like,
dog's drinking out of her glass. That's just
exactly. How
gross.
does Petunia like put up with this? So
Oh.
I can bet you 100% she's cringing on the inside.
Oh, absolutely. Did you notice that there's only 4 chairs at the table?
Of course. Why would Harry be allowed there?
Very fair.
I've
They're
been
asking
beaten
Harry
loads
if
of
they beat
times.
you. It's like, did they beat you, child? And he's like, yeah. Like, Harry, like, the glass shattering really should just be his sign just to leave. Like, Harry,
Right?
I know you're young and hormonal and angry at the whole universe, but shut up and just go out of, just leave the room, man. Just leave the room. Also, how many TVs did these people need? That was at
How many
least
are there?
2. I saw at least 2.
I don't understand why people have a TV in the kitchen.
See, there's one back when
I saw
the
that one.
doors, that one, and then there's one right behind Aunt Marge. There's 2.
And look, she's bloated.
That's a severe allergic reaction. That's what I would say. It's like, are you sure you're not allergic to something? That seems a little severe. And I like how like Dudley is just not phased by his aunt just becoming a balloon. He
Dudley's
just
at
looks
the
mad
point.
somebody's interrupting
Well,
dinner.
yeah, exactly. He's at the point where he's just like, why? As I can't be fucked. I don't care. Just let me eat in peace. But now that the balloon of Aunt Marge is coming towards him,
Yeah.
he's concerned.
Just knock Dudley out with a button. Also, there's no like real reason she should have floated out that door. Like, first of all, like she goes and she hits the ceiling and she bounces down and then she bounces up into this thing, right?
On the
Like, there's
atrium.
no reason. Like, there's like a little covered area onto their balcony. Like, there's no reason it should have knocked her down so much that she just keeps going like further outside. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I think she was. I think she was filled with helium, which
I
would be
mean,
why she just
let her
kept going
float
up.
away. Just let her float away. Like,
Let her stay
Jesus.
there wherever she ends up.
I would like to know how they found her and got her back. Also, you can't tell me a neighbor didn't see that shit. For one thing,
Right?
they're all screaming. Just at the top of their lungs, they're all screaming. You can't tell me a neighbor didn't look out the window at some point. It like
The
there was
neighbors are
it's just
always
screaming.
looking at their windows. They're always looking at the
Yeah,
Dursleys because the Dursleys are so adamant to keep the not normal out that they don't look normal.
yeah. Also, when did Harry get furniture and decorations for his room? Like, also, he has a hobby of like painting or something because he's got multiple child's drawings and paintings on his walls. Also, interesting that he actually physically attacks a muggle in this movie. He blows her up, she becomes a balloon, she floats out into the atmosphere, and
And
you
the
could see her
ministry just
floating
lets it
away, like
slide.
right there, while she's screaming at the top of her lungs. So many people had to have seen her. The Ministry of Magic probably had to do so much to cover this up, but yet they don't care. Like, they don't do anything to him. Like, that's fine, but he defends himself from one Dementor a couple books from now, and
And
it's
you know
just
why? You know why? It's because at that point he is enemy number. He is
yeah,
person
he's
non grata. At that point,
yeah.
it's like everything is his fault basically. So Fudge and all of them will take it out on him. Also, I love the balls to just grab all your shit and go. But also, where the fuck is Hedwig?
In the book, he let her out, and she flew out the window, so she could go away faster.
Okay,
Would draw a lot less attention if you didn't have an owl with you.
a caged
Also,
owl.
but like Harry, sweetie, you walked down a block max and just
Yeah,
sat down. Like,
like
you have to have a better game plan than I'm gonna walk 12 feet and sit down. Imagine how much easier and nicer and better this movie would have been if the night bus hadn't shown up when it did, and Sirius could have just had a fucking conversation with Harry, like right here, right now.
Also, I want to know why. Like, see, this is the reason that I will die petting something I should not be petting. If I
Fair enough.
saw that, I just sit there and be like, "Come here, come to me."
Fair. I would have. I would have stood up, though. I will say, I would have stood up and I've been like, "Hello," and I would have talked to it. You can meet Stan at Universal.
Do I want to meet Stan, Mister Turn Death Eater?
Uh, he doesn't really have the intelligence to be a very good one.
No, he does not. That's why he turned into one because he's an idiot.
Yeah,
He was a snatcher.
yeah. It's a good cover, though. In all honesty, for a snatcher.
Yeah.
I like Erin's message. She's just like, that's how I like my sushi restaurants and non-sushi options. Like, girl, me too. I don't fucking eat fish anyway, let alone raw. Mm-mm. Also, like, the night bus in the book sounds really interesting to me. I wouldn't want to touch a single fucking thing on this set. Like, it looks so fucking dirty and disgusting, and it's just like, ugh.
I mean, do you see Stan's face? It's riddled with pot marks and boils.
It looks like he hasn't showered in a long time.
Uh,
I'm not sure that bus has ever been cleaned.
and you'd think, why not? When you have a simple spell that I'm sure would just clean it.
Exactly. It's the same issue I have with like the Weasley family and all their shit being in disrepair. It's like there's got to be a spell for that. I would like to ride a night bus, but it would have to be on one of the upper floors where there's an actual seat so I could hang on to something and not just flail around on a
Yeah,
bed. Oh.
and face plant into a window.
Always looks like it hurts. Like
I always love listening to the freaking Scald countdown.
Sirius Black.
Who is that?
A Sirius Black, that is.
He's a murderer. Please go away. Step away from my face, Stan.
Like, I have to ask though, like, Harry, did you not do any research about your parents at all? Did you not ask a single question of literally anyone? Like, if I'd never met my parents before, I'd be going up to people asking everybody who'd ever met them and be like, "What do you know about my parents? Like, what do you know
Right?
about my family?" This is a boy who went through his whole life without asking a single fucking question. He
Right?
didn't question anything. Like, McGonagall has specifically stated like that they went to the school while she was teaching. Like, ask her about them. What kind of students were they? Like, what subjects did they seem to like? What houses were they in? Just the basic questions.
No, why would we do that? That requires effort
And thought.
and thought. We don't have those things.
Definitely not. Harry, sit down.
This guy always freaks me the fuck out.
Yeah, the dude with like the hunchback and all that.
Tom. It's not the same actor as it was in the first one, because the one in the first one, uh,
Was a normal looking dude.
yeah, like
I
he had
love
like.
that this guy in the Leaky Cauldron is reading Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time. I love that. Are we sure this guy is Tom?
Thought it was. Because in the books they always say it's Tom, like for the Leaky Cauldron.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if this guy is supposed to be Tom. Also, why is the Minister of Magic hanging out at a fucking tavern in the middle of the night doing
Seedy
Ministry of
things.
Magic work? Like, I'm pretty sure you shouldn't be taking like your top secret documents out of the Ministry of Magic.
We never said Fudge was the best or the
No,
brightest,
he's definitely not. He doesn't get Harry in trouble here because he doesn't want to be the guy who put Harry Potter in prison.
right? Even Harry's
Harry,
like,
just don't admit your crimes, Harry. Jesus Christ, didn't you learn anything? This is why you could never be a Slytherin. Lord.
never admit it. Like Harry's like, what are you talking about? The state of things? Because this boy has no idea what the fuck is going on.
Like, they purposely leave this poor child in the dark.
Like the Dursleys won't let him, probably read the Daily Prophet.
The thing is, the Sirius Black escaping is made regular Muggle news. Like, he was supposed to be so dangerous, they told the Muggle News Network.
Yeah, that's
And
some
they told
psych.
the people that he was wearing, that he had a gun.
Yeah, some escaped convict or psych patient, whatever.
Yeah. Also, so Harry spends the rest of his summer, which, like, they don't say it's very long, like in the movie, but it's a
Yeah,
couple weeks
he spends
in
the last weeks of
his summer
the
vacation
summer
here, which is
in the
great.
cauldron.
But like, Harry, sweetie, your parents left you just like a fuck ton of money. You couldn't have gone and bought another shirt, just one. Just one well-fitting shirt, a pair of nice regular fitting pants that you don't have to keep up with a belt looped around yourself a couple times. Just some normal shit would be good,
No,
Normal clothes, some shoes, basic necessities that are normal. Harry, sweetie, that book just fucking tried to eat you, and you put your face near it. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, the monster book of monsters tries to eat him, and he has to jump on his bed to hide from it. And his first thing to do when it goes under his bed is just to put his
dangle
face
his head.
first. Face first. And he's going to sacrifice his shoe, one of the only decent pieces of clothing he had. Harry. Also, Harry, don't jump on it with your whole body weight. You could have killed it. What an asshole. Also, for people with magic, why is everything so dirty? Like, and it's all covered in a layer of dust and dirt.
Now, which one was it where the Weasleys went to Egypt?
The second one. No, this one.
This one? Okay.
This one.
There you go. It answered me. Because I was gonna say, like, why doesn't he just go stay with the Weasleys? In the back of my mind, I'm like, it's because they're in Egypt, you dumbass.
Yeah, they're in Egypt. Visiting Bill.
Bill or Charlie?
Bill.
Bill.
Charlie's in Romania.
Oh.
Okay, trivia question for you. What is
What's up?
considered the most haunted building in all of Britain in the Harry
Shit.
Potter world?
Is it the Riddle House?
No, that's a good guess, though.
What?
It is the Shrieking Shack. What treatment is given to people who are exposed to Dementors?
Chocolate.
Yes. Who's the seeker for the Hufflepuff Quidditch team? You should know this.
Don't tell. Like, Cedric is too easy an answer.
Didn't say it was going to be hard.
It's Cedric?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Cedric, Cho, and Harry are all seekers.
Okay.
So it's Draco, Cedric, Cho, and Harry. What's Hermione's Bogart?
seeing a failed mark on her on her final exam.
Close. You're definitely close. It's Professor McGonagall telling her she's failed everything.
Ah, okay.
Why is Ron afraid of spiders?
Because Fred and George turned his teddy bear into a spider.
See, I did not know that.
Okay, I did not know the answer to this. Crookshanks is part cat and part what else?
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's Kniezel. Kniezel?
Yeah.
Sneasel? In the final chapter of Prisoner of Azkaban, Sirius gives Ron a gift in the final chapter. What is it?
Pigwidgeon. The little baby owl.
Yeah.
Pig.
Now, like, at this point, they're on the train, right?
Uh-huh.
And the Dementors are starting to show up and everything. Now, in the book, it was more than just Harry, Ron, and Hermione, I believe, in the carriage. I think it was like the twins and Ginny and somebody else maybe. But I
D
don't think Lupin
probably.
was I don't think Lupin was in there in the book. I think he came in like from a different compartment.
Hmm.
But I have to say, like, first of all, the train like is stopping. There's some creepy ass motherfucking thing opening the
Why is
door.
the train stopping?
That's a very
I
good
never
question.
understood that. Even Crookshanks is like, nah, fuck this shit.
Well, the thing is like you see these creepy ass what look like the Grim Reaper coming through your compartment door. Why are you not on your feet, wands out, ready to fucking fight? Because you guys don't know what these things are. They
They
didn't
have no
tell you.
idea how to fight.
Yeah, well, you can't tell me you wouldn't try to like I don't know Lumos it in the face
Yeah.
or Wingardium Leviosa it through a window or something. Like literally anything is better than whatever the hell they did, which is absolutely nothing. And Harry's having a
I always did enjoy the fact that Lupin never uttered a word
yeah,
to say his spell,
yeah.
and that's
It's
like the
very
sign of a really powerful wizard because
yeah.
you don't
Doing
have to
silent
speak to
magic.
say it. Yeah.
I love how Harry's laying on the bench because he passed out, and even Crookshanks is just staring at him like, "Hey, get the fuck up." Like, let's go. And that disapproving look only a cat can have.
Right?
But yeah, Lupin's a very powerful wizard. Easily their best teacher by far.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love him as their teacher.
Yeah. I will say, in a weird way, Barty Crouch Jr. was probably their second best teacher because he actually actively taught them things they were going to face and about the things
Yes.
they were going to
Yes.
face. So, like, he wasn't a
Barty
good
Crouch.
person by any stretch of the imagination, but he was a good teacher in that. Like, he wasn't, because he even, like, he was terrible for, like, teaching like the Cruciatus curse and everything in a classroom that has poor Neville in it and everything like that. But he actively taught Neville things too, and like
He took
was
an
helping.
interest in Neville.
Yeah, and was like actually like it was for his own ends, or his own means in the
Yeah.
end. But still, like he was an actually active, proactive teacher, and it's really sad when the convicted murderer Death Eater is one of your top two teachers out of 7. It's just like holy shit.
Like him parading around as Mad Eye was like the perfect way to get in.
Oh yeah. He's very good
Because
at it.
everyone loves Mad Eye.
Yeah.
He's already weird as it is, so like
Uh-huh.
not people are gonna question him.
In trouble.
Burning cauldron bubbled.
I must say though, Hogwarts has the stupidest school song ever. Just like the dumbest school song humanly possible. Like Hogwarts, Hoggy Warty, Hogwarts teaches something
Oh
new.
my god, I forgot about that. Yeah. But this one, the one for Halloween and everything, it's from Shakespeare.
Yeah, like the song that they do, but like the school song.
The
Holy
school
shit!
anthem,
I'd be
whatever the fuck it
so
is.
embarrassed. So
I am
embarrassed.
not calling. I am not saying the words a hoggy. What was
Hoggy
it?
Warty.
Hoggy warty. In conjunction with my
Hoggy Warty
education.
Hogwarts. I like
How
how
have you
Harry is
found
just like,
out?
how did Draco find out that I passed out? Like, sweetie, there's no way the whole fucking school ain't talking about that shit.
Right?
Because
It's like
everybody's gonna be
everyone
like,
talks
well,
about you. Your mother, your
yeah.
parents, your grandparents, your aunts. Everyone fucking talks about you in their house.
It's
Something
like,
happens
well,
to
what?
you while you're in school. They're gonna be like, everyone's gonna fucking know.
Like, well, what bullshit is Harry getting up to this year? Like, come on. Also, who are these other wizards at the table? Like, who the hell is this dude on the end at the head table? Like, who the fuck is that teacher?
The short one?
No, there's one next to Flitwick. And
Oh,
like, who the hell was that? And there was like other teachers sitting next to Lupin too. Like, who the hell are these people?
people we don't really interact with.
You know, Dumbledore continuously makes really terrible decisions, but I feel like letting the Dementors on the school property, which by the way, it's not like Hogwarts is a public school. It's a private school, and as headmaster, he has the right to tell you you can't put shit on it. So he should be able to tell them to you can take your Dementors and get fucked because everything
Right?
else in this school has tried to kill Harry. Let's not add literal demon death creatures to it.
Yeah, let's not, shall we?
Say, look, there's teachers over there. Who the fuck are those two dudes? Like,
I'm
there's
gonna
at
guess
least
one of them is runes, one of them is arithmancy, one of them I don't know. I'm making
alchemy.
shit up. Alchemy.
Also,
wouldn't that be a concentration of potions?
it's its
Alchemy?
own class.
Oh,
It's
it
its
is?
own
Okay.
class. It's taught for the 6th and 7th years, but you have to qualify into it, and they don't teach it every year.
That's right.
And I will say, I feel like it's a very poor decision, considering their history, to put Snape and Lupin next to each other at the head table. Like, let's put this guy who was absolutely one of Snape's 4 bullies next to him, but also the person who might have murdered him had James Potter not stopped him. So, his potential murderer and lifetime bully. Like, I love Lupin, I really, really do, just like I love Sirius Black. There is nothing that will keep me from saying that all 4 of the Marauders were bullies. Straight up, no question, all
Cuz
4
they
of them
were.
severe bullies. And it's just like that's the thing about the Gryffindors. Is in all honesty, they're the jocks.
They
You
are the
know, and
jocks.
they just act like bullies all the time. And they think they can just get away with shit. And it's one of the things that pisses me off about the shit that happens in Slytherin house, because a lot of it is just Gryffindors getting like their special privilege for being assholes. I like these scenes where like the boys are just like in their dorm trying the different like beans and stuff like that, because it's like it's one of the only times where they're actually just
They're
kids being
acting their
kids.
age. They're
Yeah.
acting like kids.
Like for the first couple of weeks, Harry always gets like a nice school like, you know, like
And
activities and
I do love the
presents.
fact that it's all of it's all of the boys of that year
Yeah.
with Neville and Seamus and
Yeah.
Dean and
Like they didn't leave anybody out. It's,
yeah,
you know,
like they
it's
all
all of them
bonded.
together.
Even though it
Yeah.
kind of went to shit with Seamus for a bit, it all worked
Yeah.
out.
That's true. And it's one of the things that bothers me about that too is like, Seamus, you have lived with Harry 9 months of the year for multiple years. Like, come on, kid. I look. Now, if I gotta take Hogwarts classes, right? And you get to your 3rd year, you get electives, okay? You got things like ancient runes, alchemy, care of magical creatures, and then you got this shit. This divination bullshit. All
This
right,
is
like
like you said, if this is an election like an elective course,
yeah.
I do not want to take divination. Fuck this shit.
Uh-uh.
I'll take
Like
astrology.
yeah, like I'll take the astronomy and the astrology classes and like whatever. But like divination, the second I would walk into this classroom, the intense smell of incense would make me turn around. Be like, no, no, because the second you see this crystal ball hippie bullshit, no, no, that's
Can't do
me
it.
just turning around. Goodbye.
Because even in the books, they describe it as like there was a thick air of
Yeah,
smoke and
my
incense,
allergies would say no. My asthma would say no.
and there's
My
no
asthma
window
would be
open either.
yeah. Despite the fact that there's windows everywhere, my asthma would just be like, no, you need to
You
drop
would
this
be like
fucking
Hermione,
class.
like you would not be able to control your facial reactions anytime like she says
100%.
something.
100%. I would have had this look on my face, like, it would have just been a very severely pinched look on my face, and then I would have dropped the course, like, directly after the first class. Be
There's no
like,
way. I would 100% take like ancient runes or alchemy over this
oh
shit.
yeah, I would love to take both. Like, jeez, I would take ancient runes just because of the fact that, you know, like ancient runes. Like, yeah. Um, but I'd also want to take alchemy. A lot of which would be because of my love of Full Metal Alchemist. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, it's an amazing series.
Did you
But
see what I sent you about FMA?
which one did you send me about FMA?
It's about Maze.
When did you send me something about Maze on Instagram?
No, on Facebook.
Oh, Well, you know I don't go on Facebook. Yeah.
You want me to read it?
Sure, because I have no idea where it would be.
All right. You want to pause it or no?
Sure.
Okay. Literally, no anime death will be dirtier than the death of Maze Hughes. Like, you set up this guy to be the comic relief. First off, that is dirty as hell. You don't kill the comic relief. The comic relief is supposed to live or die a very tragic death. They set up Mace Hughes to be his family man. Again, dirty as hell. It's just as bad as that 2 days away from retirement bullshit, except we actually see him doting about his family every single chance. Every single chance he gets, he talks about how wonderful his family is. The last thing he sees before he dies is his wife's face. What the fuck? That is so bad. Like, why? Why the fuck fucking that is so dirty? And then, and then, not 5 minutes after his death, they bury the fucker. They bury Mace Hughes because he is dead and died and he is no longer living. And the final nail on the coffin, his daughter is at the funeral and she's like, "Why are they burying daddy, mom? Why won't he won't be able to do any of his work if he's underground? Fuck the show. Fuck it. Fuck it in the fields."
That's fair. The death of Maze Hughes was one of the most emotional anime deaths of all time, topped
I
by very few others, one of which is also from the series of the death of Nina and her dog,
Nina was fucked.
Alexander.
That really took me
That
like
was a mess. Like, I will give 100% credit to the author of this series, though, of Full Metal Alchemist, because she does a beautiful job of really hammering home the terrors of war and the horrors in which
mhm.
come with it. And she makes it very realistic, which is a surprising considering not only in a fantasy world, but it uses like a magical version of alchemy. But she hammers home the horrors of war and what it does to these kids, like Ed and Al, when they start this series as working for the government, are so young. And even towards the final fight, they're like 16, 17. Like it's a terrible, terrible series of events of so many people dying in just the most devastating ways possible. Like Nina's death was something that will live in infamy and horror for all
Hearing her,
time.
just hearing her in her chimera voice, just go, "Edward,
And Big Brother
play."
is just devastating. And then Maze
I
Hughes
can't.
he turns around to look at the person who's going to kill him, and he's looking at the face of the person he loves most. And he dies, not entirely certain that it's not his wife that's killing him. I'm sure in like his head and his heart, he's just like, this can't be my wife, this can't be my wife, and everything. But like, he dies looking at the face of somebody he loves, knowing that this is going to be what kills him, and it is the worst possible way to go.
I
He,
screamed so hard
yeah,
when he
yeah.
died.
In all honesty, it was easily one of the most emotional anime deaths of all time. I think for me it was only topped by the death of Ace from One Piece, which I sobbed like a child when he died, because you spent a year in an arc, like going through the process of rescuing Ace from prison, from execution, and his brother shows up for him. His brother Luffy had lost everything. His crew is gone. His everything is gone. He risked his life and is just beat to hell and back trying to rescue him. He shows up at this place to rescue him. Ace's full crew shows up to rescue him. His pseudo dad shows up to rescue him, and all of these hundreds of people are throwing their life on the line to rescue this one guy, and they rescue him. His brother rescues him. They are leaving, they are retreating, they are running away, and at the last possible second, somebody tries to kill Luffy, which is Ace's little brother, and Ace steps between them, and the guy punches a hole through his chest, and Ace
Oh!
dies in his brother's arms while knowing that all of these people came to save him. His brother fought and risked his life and nearly died so many times trying to save him, and he failed anyway. It was
Oh,
I
it's right in
cried.
the fucking field.
That arc took place over like an actual physical year, and like you're reading like for a year of them going through all of this effort to try and save Ace, and at the end the two people who die are Ace and his captain, who he calls dad. They neither of them walk away, and it
Oh
was
god.
devastating. And Luffy holding the body of his dead brother is just fucking catatonic and a mess. And they have to carry him out, and he's beat to hell and back, and he's covered in blood. He's covered in his brother's blood, and
Oh god.
he's completely catatonic. And I honestly can say, out of every story I've ever read, that is probably the hardest I've ever cried over a fictional character, because that was devastating. I've
Yeah.
spent so many years reading One Piece, and then to get to that point, and Ace was my favorite character.
Of course he was.
All of my favorite characters don't have happy endings. Like, holy shit, none of them do. But he was my favorite character, and you pushed so hard, and he fought so fucking hard, and he didn't win. And it was one of those moments of like the hero in the story doesn't win, and you're just kind of like, what? Because Luffy at that point, his crew is gone. Like, his crew was taken from him, and like he's just there alone in the world fighting alone. And it was a very long arc, and it was a very sad arc, and it skips forward like several years after that. And like one of the first scenes they do after the time skip is or it's one of the, like, after the death and everything, there's like a time skip and everything, and one of the images that they show you is of Ace's grave, and it's just like, could you not do this to me, please?
Stop it!
Yeah, it was really
I don't like
really
it.
devastating. Yeah, it was really devastating. So I will say, one of the things that I love about anime is it knows how to kick you in the feels, because holy shit, that was devastating.
I cried a lot in Your Lie in April.
Yeah.
I cried in Fairy Tale.
Yeah, fairy tales are definitely one that makes you sob.
I have cried in SAO.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I've cried for
Mother's
like,
Mother's Rosario
yeah,
episode in SAO was, it broke me.
yeah,
Fucking broke me.
yeah. Anime knows how to do it well, and they do. They really, really, really do. They know how to kick you in the face, and it hurts. It really, really hurts. So many of these series are just like, oh, you love this character? Really? You want them to be happy? Ha! Fuck you.
No,
I
there's no fucking happy ending in this shit.
I was with Naruto, so like several people died. Like, Itachi was sad, but it wasn't sad until after the fact, because then you found out his backstory after he was already dead, after him and his brother fought to the death already. And then you find out that this whole time he's been a good guy, and you're just like, no, oh my god, Sasuke,
See,
you piece of shit.
okay. On that note, you know how like Aaron and I read all this dark romance and whatever, it's all the morally great characters.
Yeah.
Every time I watch a movie now
Mm-hmm.
with a villain in it,
Yeah.
I started hyper focusing on that villain and going, what's their backstory? Why
Yeah.
are they like this? Because I'm pretty sure that there's this little softie down there that no one gets to see, and I want to know where it is.
Yeah.
And then they'll do something like, okay, no, you really are a dick, you're a villain, but okay, fine. But just like, I always root for the villain now. I'm like, come on,
Oh yeah.
show me my
I
morally
always root
great
for the
guy.
villain. I always root for the villain. I love the villains. In all honesty, they're far more relatable, just like as
They
people.
are.
They're far more
Oh.
realistic as people too. And it's just like, how can you show me this absolutely tragic and terrible backstory and not expect me to empathize with this person and sympathize with them too? And it's just like, I'm far more likely to relate and feel connected to the bad guy than I am the good guy. So, like, there's too much holier than thou bullshit when it comes to the good guys. Like, no, give me the morally great character. Like, I'm gonna connect way more with Loki than I am with Thor. You know, like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna connect way more with, with the villains and the dark characters than I am with the hero. Like, I connect more with Draco than I do with Harry. Like, I mean, come on. Like, it's just, I don't know. And like, I will say, when it comes to Harry Potter, the death I cried over the most was Sirius. Like,
Yeah,
that was a put the
serious.
book down. That was to put the book down and just be like, holy fuck, kind of a moment. Because
When I
that one,
first read it, read that scene,
yeah,
it didn't click.
yeah,
The emotions and what I'm reading didn't click.
yeah.
And that, because and then I did cry when Hedwig died.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Hedwig
That was,
died and I was just bawling. But when I reread the series and I
uh-huh.
got to Sirius and like it's building up to what I know is gonna be Sirius's death,
Yeah.
ugly fat fucking tears on my books. I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
no, the closest thing this boy will ever get to a father figure or a parent or family, and he's gone.
Yep. 100%. 100%. It was
Oh
devastating.
god.
Like, that was one of those ones that like I read it and then I restarted like the whole scene over because I'm like, he didn't just die. Like, he
Like,
didn't
I
just
didn't
die.
just read that. What did I just read?
Yeah, like I misunderstood something. Like, he's not dead. Like, he didn't just die. And then like you read it again and like, oh my god, he's dead. He's
Mhm.
fucking dead. And then like I felt the same way about Fred though, because at first I didn't realize he was dead. Because like he was hit with the wall and everything, and you just figured like he was knocked down or out, not
Let's not talk
dead.
about Fred, all right?
Red was devastating, and he's still my favorite twin, and I still don't know why he's my favorite over George. I'm so sorry, George. I
I love
really am.
them both. I love them both. I love Holy George and everything, but
Why is Fred the
I
favorite?
don't know. There's something about fucking Fred that I'm just so in love with.
Like, the stupid thing is it's not like it's you and me. Like, it's not just a weird like us thing. Like, the amount of Fred Weasley focused fan fictions versus George Weasley focused fan fictions is significantly different, okay? Like, I don't know what it is, but for some reason there's way more like Fred centric focused stuff. So it's not just us. Like, people just focus on, I don't know why. It's not like he has like relatively more scenes or anything like that.
No, they're always
Like, they
together.
but it's Fred. It's Fred, and I don't know why. Like, every time I'm like, which one's your favorite Weasley twin? It's always Fred.
Always
Just
Fred.
like
Always.
always better together more than anything else. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, why is it Fred? Like that. I want people to comment on social media to us. Why is it Fred? Why is
I'm
Fred
gonna
the
make a
best
Tumblr. I'm
twin?
gonna make a Tumblr post about that, and not Tumblr, Reddit, and be like, can someone please explain why Fred is the more popular twin?
It's just like there's no logical reason he should be. Like, but because the thing
I'm gonna do
is
that now.
people are going to say like it's because he died, so people focus on it. But no, he was the more popular
No,
twin before he died. Like, I distinctly remember that he was the more popular twin before he died. He was my favorite twin before he died too. That was one of the reasons it was so devastating. It's like, oh my god, it's Fred. It's just like, I still think it should have been Percy personally who died in that movie, but then again, I also
Percy. I see no redemption in Percy, even though he had his little arc.
yeah. That's
Mm-mm.
not really an arc. That's just I don't want to go to jail. But I also like personally I think when they killed Sirius off, because originally like J.K. Rowling was thinking of killing Arthur off. I really just think it should have been Arthur rather than Harry, because I think at this point like it's a little unrealistic, just the fact that every fucking adult in his life is just murdered. Like, it's a little too, like, his parents are murdered and taken from him. Like, Remus can't be a part of his life either. Like, his other pseudo uncle Peter Pettigrew is the reason his parents are dead, and now Sirius is gone, and it's just like, it just seems like a little too heavy handed on Harry. Like,
Right.
I think Arthur dying would have made like it more realistic and hit the war hit a little more home for the Weasleys in a way that because like they're just so relatively unaffected up until the point that like Fred dies, and like that's a 7 books to go through being relatively unaffected. I
Th-
love Arthur Weasley, like, don't get me wrong, but I do think it should have been him over Sirius. So,
You'd have, yeah. I mean,
and
if
like
we're going,
completely understand why she didn't do that, because it would have drawn too much attention away from Harry, and like I understand that, but like I think at this point it's just a little overly unrealistic about the fact that it's just like, does every adult that could possibly at any point stand up for Harry just dead? Just like that's a little ridiculous. So
I don't know. I got no answer other than JK knows how to hit you in the feels.
That's fair. Like, if it wasn't Sirius, then it was Fred, and I'm just like, God damn it! Two of my three favorite characters are dead by the end of this series. That's the way they always are. Like,
Of
look,
course.
my ships are never canon, and my characters are never happy. So that's just the fucking way it is. I think I can name on one hand across all fandoms the amount of ships that I have that became real. Like that are actually that set sail, that are canon, that are out there and living their best life. Like one hand, okay, and it's not good. It's not good. So and like really that's stretching it. So
I don't know. All right, let's continue with our first care of magical creatures
our first
lesson.
care of magical creatures class. Isn't this where like in the book, is this where Hagrid breeded his own blasted skewers? Like I know that's not the scene that we're about to watch with Buckbeak and all that, but isn't that the first lesson like in the book is the blasted skewers? Or is that
Yes,
later?
yes, yes, yes. Their first thing was the blast and did scroots, and then seeing Buckbeak was like the treat.
Yeah, and then because like I remember Hagrid was talking about all the different like there was like a herd of whatever hippogriffs. There was a herd of hippogriffs, and like there were different colors and stuff like that too.
Tom will forever be Draco Malfoy, and I
Oh
love
yeah.
that he loves it.
Oh yeah. What's hilarious is like Harry. Did you see the state of Harry's tie? Like it is really short with a bunch of like the end piece of it like
Yeah.
hanging down. Like Harry, like Hermione let you walk out of the dorms like that.
Poor Neville.
I always feel bad for Neville. Now I have to say, one of the things that drives me nuts is like because like Draco gets hurt by the hippogriff and everything like that, but he in the movie he's super disrespectful to the bird,
Yes.
to Buckbeak, but he's not in the book. Like he does say something rude to it, but he goes through the whole process, I believe, of like bowing to it and everything like that. And it's just when he's petting it that he says something insulting to it. I mean, in all honesty, how is he supposed to know that it understood him? You know, when he called it
I mean,
ugly.
didn't Hagrid just say that they're very sensitive
Yeah, but like, how would
and
you like?
prideful creatures?
My cat's super prideful, but if I, if I'm over there petting her and I say, I think she's the ugliest thing on the planet, she's not gonna understand me. Not that you are, Sam. You're adorable. But like, I do feel bad for Draco because like he didn't do anything wrong. He said something wrong, but he wouldn't have known that it was gonna understand him. And really, in all honesty, why are you teaching 13-year-olds and introducing 13-year-olds to what is very clearly a predator? This is a
Right?
predator animal. Its eyes are both facing forward. This is a prey. This is an animal that hunts. Like Jesus. Yeah,
You
I'm
can
with
go pet him
Harry.
now if you try to like beat me. It's like
I'm with Harry. Like no, just no.
I'm with Hagrid. I'm like, can I pet it now? Is it okay?
I will say, like Draco just took a bite of an apple. There are fan fictions about Draco and that apple.
Okay.
I've never read them, but I've absolutely come across
Can you
Draco.
please read it before next week so you
I,
can just
I can
summarize
probably
what the fuck that fanfiction is?
I can probably find some, yeah.
Oh my god. Does he stick his wee wee in it after he bites the hole out of it?
I have
Like
no idea. I swear I don't.
Hagrid's like, you can go pet him now, and then you can go ride him off into the sky.
I forgot. There's a ship name for him in the apple. It's called Drapple.
What the fuck? Drapple?
Drapple.
Okay.
Oh god, there's 103 fan fictions.
That is 100 too many.
Oh god. Oh god. Okay. Well, the first one that comes up is a is a is a relationship between Draco the Apple and Hermione Granger.
It's a fucking three-way between him and an apple.
One of the tags. Oh my god. One of the tags is poison apples, so you know.
Are we doing a Snow White thing here?
Yeah, it kind of looks that way.
Oh god. A three-way with an apple. Also, even though I'm gonna die petting something I shouldn't,
Yeah.
I'm also smart enough to not go running head first towards an animal.
Towards just a super large predator. I guess
Yeah,
about
I'm.
as stupid as running towards a moose.
Yeah, see, I know that much.
I love that
You bloody
Draco calls
chicken.
his chicken.
Buckbeak's like, oh hi. Oh, who is that with Draco? That's
Pansy.
Pansy Parkinson. Does it hurt terribly?
I'm gonna read some like the little description of this fan fiction for you between
I'm ready.
Draco and the apple. When a certain blonde Slytherin indulges in his deepest, most hidden desires, everything turns juicy. Apple juicy.
I'm turning that into merch.
No.
I am
that-
turning
no.
Apple Juicy into merch.
No.
Yes,
no.
I am.
No. No.
I'm making a note of that now.
Oh god. No.
Too late.
Oh, this one here. This one is about Hermione Granger and a banana and Draco with an apple. So it's a fruit salad.
Excuse me? My mind went to the most horrid places once you said banana.
This is where it went. Is where the pick goes. Oh, this this description of this fiction, which I'm going to read to you. I'm not going to read the fan fiction. I'm going to read the description. Is Draco describing his apple love? I never thought it would happen to me, but I can't get her out of my head. Her tantalizing aroma, her firm, fresh skin, the taste of her. I, Draco Malfoy, and in love. In love. This is a 6,000 word fan fiction about Draco's romance with an apple.
With an apple!
Oh, and it's in the style of journal entries.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, but I want to read it. But I also don't want to read it.
You have to read it and you have to let us know.
Oh god, there's another one.
Tell me how his teeth crunched into her tender skin.
Do you want me to read the summary for this one too?
Yes!
Oh god.
The secondhand embarrassment is real.
Okay. The summary for this other fic. Mouth watering. He brought it closer to his lips, tongue flicking out towards its luscious surface. His eyes started to close. The very tip of his tongue touched the skin, and he moaned, and another zap of lust wrecking his ability to be quiet. It had faint sweetness, a preview of what was to come. And he brought it to his mouth further in contact with it. All he could think of was how lovely it felt. I'm sorry.
Over a fucking apple!
That story is a 500 word story about Draco and his apple love.
And how it zaps lust into him when he needs to be quiet.
There's so many. There's 103 of these.
I'm telling you, that's 100 more than there ever needs to be between a boy and his apple with its luscious skin.
Good God. Although I will say a lot of these fics, the author puts in here, I'm just sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. Don't read this.
At least they are warning us.
I mean, that's fair.
Apple juicy.
That one, the first fic with the description that I read, and I said it was like journal entries and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
At the very beginning, like it has like this little thing that just says the following are excerpts from the diary of one Draco Malfoy, patient number, and it has like a patient number and have been reviewed by like a mind healer.
So Draco has lost his
Fucking
fucking
marbles.
mind,
Oh
and
my
he's
god.
writing a love letter to an apple.
It seems to be. Yes, it seems to be that way.
Okay, let's continue, shall we? With a bogart. That's gonna be your bogart from now on. Is a fucking apple.
Oh my god. Okay, I do have before we like get it too far into the Bogart scene, I do have things to say about it. First of all, Lupin is here and his bright idea. Now granted, teaching somebody how to defend against a Bogart, that's not a bad idea. Teaching them how to defend against their worst fears, not a bad idea. It is a bad idea, however, to pull a bunch of 13-year-olds, put them in a room full of their peers and their classmates and everything, and then expect them to expose to the world their worst fears. Because, like, in all honesty, you want their worst fears to be like snakes, spiders, whatever. But out of all of the, like, if you think about all the different types of home lives people have, the different types of home lives some of these students have, and things like that, in all honesty, like, it's just unrealistic to assume that all of them have good home lives and that things are not going on behind the scenes. So there's a very realistic chance that some of these kids are going to walk up there and one of their own parents is going to step out. Somebody who abuses them is going to step out. Like the way, like, consider how ridiculous religion is against the persecution of just like things today. Like,
Right.
like other religions, women, like gay marriage, gay people in general, like things like that. Think about how violently people react to that. And then think of the Fantastic Beasts series and the way like the first movie and the shit that was done to Credence because like they thought he might have had magical abilities and he had to suppress them to the point that it literally destroys him, and to an
Mm-hmm.
extent. But like you can't tell me that in Britain of all places, one of the most long-standing Christian places ever, that you don't have a bunch of Christian fanatical people living here. So what are the odds some of these Muggleborns don't come from homes that are, what if these parents, some of these parents of these kids, like beat the shit out of them for having magic and stuff like that? Like, don't take what could potentially, in all honesty, it as horrifying as it is, some kids' home lives are worse than that. So, like, why would you take that potential for something so much worse than spiders and snakes, and like the dark and stuff like that, and have these children expose that in front of everyone they know?
I
That's
want to
horrifying.
say it is horrifying, but amidst all the things that's happening currently in their world and where they're living, staying in Hogwarts with the
Mm-hmm.
Dementors and everything, and the escape of a prison inmate, like it's not safe. So it makes sense that at least Lupin
Mm-hmm.
would take into consideration that even though it's gonna be horrifying in the beginning, once they master it, they'll be able to take care of themselves. They'll be able to stay away from the Dementors and the kiss and whatever. Because if their boggart is that terrifying
Yeah.
and they didn't know how to to defend themselves against it, they're gonna be fucking dead.
Yeah.
Like that
And like,
Dementor's coming in for their kiss and that's it. But at least this way, he's giving them a fighting chance, no matter how hard it's gonna start out.
and like I can understand wanting to teach them how to defend themselves against that, and like to teach them to defend themselves against their worst fears, to stand up for themselves, to like build past these things. Don't do it in a full classroom. Make these kids stand in the hall, because that way, on the off chance something comes through there, like a parent or an abuser, You know, like some kids are very unfortunate, you know, and have had terrible things happen to them. You could cause these children to break down, break apart,
Yeah.
PTSD, panic attacks. You could truly destroy one of these children with this thing. And if you feel the need to teach these children to defend against their worst fears, and in all honesty, this is a two-sided thing because you're teaching them how to defend against their worst fears, but as a teacher, you're learning what their worst fears are. And if their worst fears are spiders or clowns, that's wonderful. That's great. Good. But if a person walks through there, that's when you should be raising red flags. As a teacher, as an adult, why is this child's worst fear an actual person? But to do that, and like if you want to do that, like it would be a good evaluation of their home lives, in all honesty. But I think it would definitely be something to be worried about of doing in front of other people because these kids don't need that, you
No,
know.
they don't. They really
And
don't
you
need
want to do
extra
it,
fodder to be bullied, but
yeah. But they also like I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't be willing to do that. I would That is putting an extremely sensitive part of yourself like out there in front of a huge bunch of people. And for some of these kids that you don't know all that well in some instances. Like in this image you see like Gryffindors, but like there's a couple of people from other houses that are standing there. I don't know you. You don't need to know my worst fear, especially because I'm not entirely certain what my worst fear is. As an adult, I can think of some absolutely terrible things that could happen to me, and having one of those walking out the door, especially as a woman, would not be a great thing for me. Let alone to have it happen, like have this experience of like being faced with this in front of a group of people. Like there's no amount of the ridiculous spell that's going to make some things funny. Like some
yeah.
people, like Luna watched her mom die. There is no ridiculous spell on the planet that makes that funny. There's if some of these kids have been like attacked or abused, there's no spell in the world that makes that funny. And like it's coming from a point of view where Lupin is a person who believes that the worst possible things in life that could possibly happen have already happened to him.
Hmm.
He has nothing. He lost his best friends. He lost the people he considers family. One of them was a traitor. To him, those are the worst possible things that could happen. But in all honesty, those are not in the top 10 of the worst things that can happen to a person. Like you didn't lose children. Nobody, like, there was no non-consensual acts that happened to you, and with the exception of being turned into a werewolf. But like he's coming at it from a different approach than it needs to be necessary if you're going to do this. Because if you're going to do this, if you're going to throw a bunch of these children at this bogart and make their absolute worst nightmares come to life, especially because like these kids are 13, so you want to think that their worst fears are clowns, failing grades, and shit like that. But then some of these kids are older too and have a better understand. Like if he does this with the upper years, have a better understanding of the world. So you can't tell me that those like last year Hogwarts students wouldn't have much worse ideas of worse
Yeah.
fears than these 13-year-olds are going to. Like, and the odds are is just some of these students somewhere along the way, considering how many students are in Hogwarts, have had terrible things happen to them. Like a lot of these pureblood students live in pureblood houses. And as we've
That can't be
seen,
a happy
yeah,
household.
like Sirius's parents alone use the unforgivable curses on him. Like they use magic on him and his brother all the time. Like, look at the way Bellatrix turned out. Like, these
Well,
are not happy homes that these kids are coming from. If you're gonna do this and you insist on doing this, which, and I can understand why you might, especially as like an evaluation from a teacher standpoint, but you need to do it in a closed room with just you and this student, in
yeah.
all honesty, because there's a line of what these kids need to expose about themselves. Because I would have walked out the door. Like I don't know if at 13 I would have walked out the door, but I would have walked out the door at 16, at 18, because like you have a better understanding
Yeah.
of the worst things that can happen to you as a person at that point. Like as 13 you're kind of like a kid just really starting to get a better understanding of the world. But as you get older, you get a much better, more horrific understanding of the world. And at 30, I there's no way. There's no way
At
I'd stand
30,
there.
there is no happy ending.
Well, there's no there's no way I would stand there. Because, like, for one thing, I can't pinpoint, like, what my worst fear coming through that door
I
would
can't
be.
either. I have no
And
idea.
that would
I
worry
have too
me.
many.
Yeah, because there could be all kinds of things. Like, I don't want to see the dead bodies of all of the people that I love. But at the same time, like, is that a worse fear than the idea of being, like, attacked as a woman?
Yeah.
Like, because what would have to come through that door wouldn't necessarily just be a person. It would be that feeling and that concept of what's happening. So, like, as an adult, no. I would have turned around and I would have walked away. You could fail me, you could expel me, like, whatever. But I would have gone down swinging because I'd have been like, what the fuck is wrong with this school that this is what you're putting people through? Because, like, all of these people, these older people, went through a war. Like, you should understand the worst thing that the world has to offer. You were in a war, and
A
you want to
magical war,
find,
no, on top
yeah,
of that.
and you want to find out what the worst fears of these children are. Like, Neville alone should have been a good reason for you not to do it, because his parents were tortured into insanity. Like, the worst thing that's going to walk through there is Bellatrix Lestrange, the person who tortured his parents into insanity. Now, it's not. It's, in this case,
Snape.
But that should worry you more, because this child fears Severus Snape more than he fears the person who tortured his parents into insanity. And that should tell you something. First of all, it should tell you that Snape is not a qualified teacher. And there's a lot of people out there that love Snape and they like Snape. And in a lot of ways, I understand it. I don't like Snape because I think that no matter how, like, he loved Lily, like, whatever. Okay. You loved a girl like 15, 20 years ago. You said racist things to her. She doesn't like you anymore. That's fair and on her. It doesn't mean you have an excuse to be abusive to her son. So Neville's worst fear isn't the woman who tortured his parents. No, it's Snape, his professor, somebody he sees every single fucking day. That should tell you right there's a red flag. And that should also just kind of be like a precursor of understanding that these kids are the children of people who were in a war. These kids are affected by
These
it.
kids have generational trauma.
Yes, these kids have shit tons of trauma. Like, if Neville's not enough of an example, if Harry's not enough of an example, these pureblood children that come from families like Sirius talks about the shit that his mother used to do to his parents used the unforgivable curses on him and Regulus. Like, it's not new. Torturing these students as these kids in their households is not new. You might get different kinds of it from a wizarding family into a muggle family, but in all honesty, both of them are possible torture and trauma for these children. Like,
Abuse is abuse. Doesn't matter if it's
yeah,
magical or not.
exactly. Like, don't take these children and put their worst fears on display. I don't know what my worst fear would be, but I can imagine a whole list of the worst things I can think of, and none of that is something I want walking out of a closet to show a bunch of my peers that this is the things that I think are the worst things possible to happen to me. Because, like, as a woman, like, you can imagine the worst things that are going to happen to you or could happen to you, and those could be your worst fears. Those might not even be your worst fears, but imagine something like that walking out of the closet, because it's not like it can be a person you recognize. It would just be a concept of something that could happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I don't even know how that would take shape, but I don't want to. But there's no spell in the world that I could cast that would, like, make the dead bodies of my friends and family and the people I love most funny. Like, you cast a ridiculous spell. I'm not going to cast a ridiculous spell on the dead bodies of people I love, and it's going to be funny, because there's nothing it could do to make it funny. There's nothing that could do to make it funny, even if it changed its entire shape, because what have I just witnessed? Or some other kind of abuse or trauma that could come through there. And
I wonder if there's another way to get rid of the bogart besides ridiculous, like, or without making it funny. Because I remember in one of the later books, it must have been the fifth one, when they're at Grimmauld Place.
yeah, then they're cleaning up the house. There's a bogart.
Yeah,
in it,
they're cleaning. Yeah, and then Molly goes upstairs to the trunk with the bogart, and the bogart comes out, and it's all of
It's
her
her
family
family.
dead.
Yeah.
But I forgot who it was. Like, I think it was Lupin or something that came up and just, like, put it away. It didn't even say anything. Like,
I
it didn't even change
imagine
into anything happy or funny. It just back in its thing.
I imagine if you used a force spell, like one of those ones that Jenny was practicing
Oh.
that exploded things and stuff like that, you could force it back into wherever it was going. And like I think that would be the alternative. Like if you want to put me in a room and you make me do this, and I would fight you tooth and nail about it, because for one thing, it's nobody's business whatever anybody's worst fears are, because that's an intensely personal point for them. But because nobody's worst fear is something trivial, not to them. And even if it's something like spiders or clowns, it's a traumatic fear for that person. So you're traumatizing each and every little kid that's going to walk up to this thing. And you're going to ask them to take the things that make them feel the most unsafe and make it funny. And that's just the most ridiculous thing to ask somebody to do. But there are just some things that could come through that you just can't make funny. You couldn't make the dead bodies of the people you love funny. You couldn't make abuse funny. Like it's not how that works. And I think the creation of the bogart and putting it in this classroom setting is done from somebody who understands trauma, but not like who thinks that what they've experienced is the worst things possible. Like Lupin's worst fear is the moon, but by all rights, in all honesty, he should be more afraid of looking at the dead bodies of the people he loves than he is the moon. And he's not. And like, that's him. He's dealt with that a lot longer.
It's
But
because the moon to him means, nightmares,
yeah.
monstrosities.
And like it reminds him of himself, and probably the
Mhm.
thing he fears the most is his own life and his own self. And but in all honesty, what if it wasn't the moon? What if the worst thing that came out of that was James and Lily's dead bodies? Like he can't tell me that Lupin would be able to look at that and think that was funny. You know? And I just don't think that Lupin bringing this Bogart into class would be a good idea. Like he at one point even mentions to Harry that he thought what would walk out of there wouldn't be a Dementor. He thought it would be Voldemort. Like, so you put this child who is about to introduce Voldemort into a classroom full of people, of 13-year-olds, and you think this is a good idea? Like, obviously it's not the real Voldemort, but he doesn't need to be confronted with his mother's murderer either. And it's just like, let alone anybody else that's in there. All of these people have had families that were in one way or another affected by the war. Don't do this to them. Don't do
I
this
feel
to these
like
children.
okay, so he needs to teach them this
Mhm.
because of the Dementors that are now just circling the school, so that the kids
Yeah.
are prepared. However, and I understand that it's a slightly bigger, it's a big classroom. It's a lot of the third years
Yeah.
from every house.
Yeah.
I would have had like a precursor to this and be like, everyone pick a group, like write down the names of like 4 to 6 people you want in your group to work together, at certain hours,
Yeah.
you know, or in certain places. Like you can, one can be in one room, one can be the other. It doesn't matter. But like as long as the groups are separated, so you
Yeah.
are only working on your shit with people that you are close to or trust to a
Yeah.
degree. Like
That's
it would
fair.
have been Hermione, Neville, Ron, Harry, and probably Seamus and Dean. It would probably be like them in one group,
Yeah.
and like all of like Pavarti and Draco would be them in their own group.
And I can definitely see that. I think like that's a really good way to approach it. It would be to approach it from the idea that pick the people you want to know this about you. And because like it just shouldn't be something that everybody knows about you. And I think the thing that would bother me most would be not knowing what would come out of it. Like what would walk out of it, because I don't know. Like even like I've never known. Like I was ever since I read the book, and like you sit there and you wonder like, well, what could be the worst thing that could come out of it? Like so many terrible things come to mind, but you're not sure like what is your absolute worst fear. I think the thing that would bother me most is not knowing what fear I'm about to share with people.
Right.
And I just don't think I would do it. Like I just don't think I'd want to do it. I honestly I would tell them, it's like, you could fail me for the class. You could do whatever you like, whatever you want, but like you have no right to make me share something about myself that I
Like
don't
I
want to
don't want to
share.
relive my trauma alone.
Yeah.
Where do you think I'm? Why do you think I'm gonna want to relive my trauma in front of a group of people?
Yeah, like people don't need to know your mental health business. Like the things that, like people you don't need to know your mental health business. People you don't want to know your mental health business do not need to know it. Like if you have suffered from like an abuse or a trauma or whatever, like a group of random ass kids you go to school with are probably the last people on the planet you want to share this with. Like why would you want to share these things with them? Like Neville doesn't want to share with the world that, like the trauma of the things that his parents went through or how deeply afraid of a teacher he is. Like, why would anybody want to share that with themselves and with somebody else? Like, no therapist in the world is going to tell you that this is a good idea to share your worst fears with a bunch of people that you don't know. This is not a therapy group. Like
No,
these
this
are
is not a
people
therapy
like
group, but I'm sure
and
there's a therapist out there that highly believes in shock therapy.
yeah, and those are people who live in the deep south and also believe in conversion therapy too and shouldn't be
I'm not
therapists.
talking electric shock therapy,
Yeah.
just the shock factor therapy, where it's like you are so terrified of doing something that is hindering you in life or whatever for any moment of progress. And your psychologist or your therapist, whatever, will be like, we're putting you in this situation so you can start learning how to handle it when it happens because you won't always be in therapy
Mm-hmm.
or have a therapist near you when this shit arises in your daily life or whatever, right? We can't just have
Yeah.
you walking around being completely incapacitated. So,
And I
like,
can
to a
see
degree,
that.
I get that, but
Yeah.
not for a setting of children at 13 years old in a classroom full of
Without the
bullies.
consent of their parents. And
I mean, that's nothing new. We already know that there is no consent
that's fair.
forms. Why is it that there's no consent forms or letters telling their parents these kids are in danger when there's a basilisk running around petrifying kids, but it's adamant that you have a permission slip to go to fucking Hogsmeade?
Yeah. It's like you have to have a permission slip to go to walk 20 feet off of campus, but to stay in a murder school, nah, nobody really fucking cares. But
No,
I
you'll be
just
fine.
yeah. But it always just bothered me about this movie is this specific lesson, because anything could have walked out of there. Like, what if one kid's fear is his own death? Like, what is that supposed to make him feel?
Ugh.
Like there could be an endless amount of things that come out of that, and I just think that Lupin's not prepared for the wider range of possibilities.
No.
I think he's a little too stuck in what he's afraid of and what he thinks other people should be afraid. Like what he thinks these 13-year-olds should be afraid of, not with these children who are suffering from generational trauma from a war-torn generation have likely seen, heard, and been through.
I mean, I feel like we talked about this earlier, but like, even though Lupin was one of the better professors they had for DAD,
Yeah.
even though he was psycho, Barty Crouch Jr. masquerading as Mad Eye was probably the best at teaching them how to survive.
Yeah. And honestly, I think if I had to pick a teacher that was going to teach me how to survive, especially with a war approaching, I would pick Barty Crouch Jr. because he knows what he's doing. Above all else, he knows what's coming for them and what's going to happen and what's going to happen next and what he would need to teach you to prepare you for. And in all honesty, he goes about it in some of the worst ways possible, but he does teach you. At the
Yeah,
end of the
even
day,
though he does it in the
teach
worst
you.
way, he does teach you. He doesn't just tell you this is the way and then move on. It's like, no, this is why.
Yeah.
He tells you the why.
Yeah. And in all honesty, in 6th year, you're at a more appropriate age to really start learning these things. At 13, these kids are facing a bogart. That's absolutely unacceptable. But at 16,
At 13, they should be learning, like, Expelliarmus and, Defendo and stuff like that. The
yeah.
basic things.
Yeah. Not like, here, be confronted with your worst fear in a room full of people, which it would be traumatic just in and of it. It would create a new traumatic experience, because then you're putting all of the social pressure of all of this on you at the same time in tandem with your worst fear. And I just think that would be one of the worst ways you could do this, because you are absolutely scarring each and every one of these children without hesitation. But Barty Crouch Jr., as psychotic as he is, does teach these kids, knowing full well that the war is about to start. He shows them what's really there, what's coming for them.
Mm-hmm.
He shows them those unforgivable curses, and he talks about them in
He
a
may be
realistic
on the
way.
bad side,
Yeah.
but he has standards because he's just like, I'm gonna teach them
Mm-hmm.
so they can just as so they're ready for what's coming, not because he has a good part in himself. It's more along the facts of like equal standing ground. Everyone, like it's cowardly to go after someone who has no idea what they're doing or how to
And
defend themselves.
and in all honesty, like it's just kind of like a wake up call, I think, in a way to these kids. That he's just kind of like, look, you're children, but this is not school anymore. This is not fun.
Hmm.
This is not play. This is
This is your
reality.
world. This
Yeah.
is our world right now.
And like I think everyone at some point needs that one person to tell you, like, to you, this is what's really happening. This is the real world, and to especially when you're about to
Hmm.
enter into a war. Do I think he did it for good reasons or the right reasons? No. Do I think he did it because he probably just in some twisted way enjoyed it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, even if he was a terrible person and even if he went about it in the worst way possible, what they got out of it was more than they could have asked for from a regular lesson, because they got an understanding of what they were like. Maybe not so much the other kids, but Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and like the other people who joined like the fight in the Order of the Phoenix and stuff like that. And in all honesty, a lot of those kids, because those kids are gonna have all of the ones that weren't like Muggleborns and stuff like that, or the trio, we're gonna have to stay at this school, and we're gonna spend a year with the Carrows and getting tortured and all of this other stuff. They, in all honesty, Barty Crouch Jr. prepared these kids for living in a school of somebody who's going to, with people who are going to actively torture you. And you have, at least this way, they had an understanding of what they were going to get, what is coming for them in their own school the next year.
Yep.
Like, it's not good and it's not great, but it was a survival tactic at the very least. Now with Lupin, I think it's unrealistic because, for one thing, the odds of you encountering a bogart are slim. Ridiculous is just not a great spell for that, but it's teaching you to try to laugh at the worst things possible, when instead you need to learn how to defeat and overcome and stand up to the worst things possible, not diminish the things that make you afraid, but to acknowledge them is what you need to do, and then move above them and beyond them, and stand up to them. But I think casting a ridiculous spell at the things that make you most afraid in life is just a way to belittle the things that make you afraid.
Yeah. Can't argue that.
In all honesty, it's just a whole fucked up series. Like, it's just all fucked from start to finish. Like, there you go. This is just fucked up point in book 3. So
Among many. Shall we move on with the ridiculousness?
wasn't prepared to get quite so deep with it the way we did, but hey. At least you can tell this is the same classroom that Gilderoy used, because that balcony is still behind him.
Mm-hmm.
I love the balcony. I'd love to have an office with a balcony like that. And you notice, because the Slytherins are there, we saw a couple Hufflepuffs. Like, there's the Gryffindors. This is a whole, like, group activity thing.
Yeah, this is all the third years.
Yeah, and I definitely... See, there's the Ravenclaws.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, under no circumstances, as a Slytherin, would go up there. Like, no.
No.
Like,
You don't
absolutely
need
not.
you don't need fodder against me. And why is it that they pick the most pathetic, or not even pathetic, the shyest character?
The person, like, they picked Neville. The person with the most anxiety is the person you want to throw fear in the face of. Like, pick a cocky student. Pick one who's, thinks they're the greatest thing on the planet,
Pick
But
Draco. Let's see how he handles it, Mr. Big Man.
I wouldn't pick Draco, just because I'm probably pretty sure his dad does terrible things to him behind closed doors. So,
That is fair. That is fair.
like, it probably much goes down the same line of the things Sirius experienced in his own house. But,
That's
like,
fair.
Neville can just name his worst fear. Like, I can't name my ultimate worst fear.
Yeah, I can't either.
And I think the younger you are, the more easily you'd be able to name your worst fear. And I think you probably gain more fears as you get older, and that are less like individual based, of like snakes and like, Snape, and more like concepts and things like that.
I don't know what I fear the very most.
Now,
Professor?
if I could picture something, like pick something, Like, and I would just pick like spiders or roaches or something, and that would appear. That would be fine. But I wouldn't be able to guarantee that that's what would show up in front of me, because it wouldn't be my worst. It would be a fear, but not worst fears.
Yeah.
Also, I wouldn't be certain enough I could pinpoint focus on that enough to get it to do that. You know, like to show up with a spider or
Right.
a roach or something, rather than like some concept.
I love how Pavarni's just a giant snake. A cobra.
Yeah. That
Now-
clown
now-
she makes appear is a fear.
Right? I was about to say, like, imagine someone in that classroom was terrified of clowns, and now it's a giant, like, Jack-in-the-Box
Yeah.
clown bouncing at them.
And everyone's now realizing that maybe Harry was a bad idea for this.
I do love, however, that after Lupin stops it and tells Harry, why he stopped it, he's like, because I thought it was going to be Lord Voldemort.
Yeah.
But it's like, you jumped in front of his bogart after it turned into a Dementor.
You waited and watched, because that clown went back and forth quite a few times before you did shit.
It's like, admit it, you wanted to know what his worst fear was going to be. And it wasn't Voldemort, because he has no concept of Voldemort other than it's the person that murdered his parents.
Yeah.
Whereas
And,
with
like-
Dementors, he has direct memories, direct action, conflict with these creatures.
And why is it that Voldemort would be his worst fear, considering the fact that he's defeated him now 3 times as a baby,
Right?
and in first and second year?
Inappropriate,
Technically-
my ass, McGonagall. Just sign the damn thing.
Technically, Dumbledore could sign it because of the fact that, like, it's a private school, and like he assumes all responsibility for these students once they set foot on campus, making him their temporary guardian as long as they're housed within the school. And I really just think, like, they should make an exception for Harry, considering they know what his parents are like.
Yeah, James Potter was just always getting into trouble, so do you really think that Harry wouldn't be the same?
And there's no way it was kept a secret, all the shit that happened at his house. Like, come on. I read a theory once, because Harry hears a woman screaming when the Dementor attacks him, right? But I was reading a theory once that what is happening when the Dementors attack him is, and they're attacking him because of the Horcrux piece
Right.
of Voldemort's soul. And they can sense the fact that there's something wrong with the soul, like the soul, because there's a soul, and then there's a soul piece, a fragment attached to it. And that the screaming that he hears is his mom, but the Dementor's technically attacking the
Horcrux part.
the Horcrux fragment, and that instead of being Harry's memory from very, very young of his mother dying,
It's the Horcrux screaming.
it's Voldemort's last memory of his own death, as like, when he hits Lily with the spell. And I think that makes a lot more sense to me in some ways, because I don't foresee, like, really Harry remembering her scream, but I can definitely see Voldemort remembering her scream, because it's the moment right before the thing he fears the most, and that's his own death.
I could get behind that.
Yeah.
The only thing that would make me question that is, have you seen Dexter,
Some of them,
the show?
like the
Yeah, he works with the police. He's the blood splatter guy. Yeah, he was found, in a shipping container, covered in, just in a pool of his mom's blood, after witnessing his mom being bludgeoned, murdered, whatever. Right, and he's a year and a half.
Yeah.
And those things always haunt him, even though he's not aware of, like, what it is that's actually haunting him, but, like, he just knows he's drawn to this butchery. And I'm like, he couldn't, like, there's no way. He was a year and a half old. I'm not that good with psychology and how brains work, but I feel like that would be too young.
Yeah.
To remember all that or to feel all that. So I feel like this theory that it's actually the fragment or Voldemort screaming at the Dementor would make more sense, because I feel like he'd be too young to remember his mom screaming.
Yeah. I feel like it makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't know enough about, like, the psychology of it to know if somebody would remember that young. Like, they might, if it's something terrible enough, and, like, depending on their age, maybe. But I have no idea. But I
Also,
like.
why is sorry, continue.
I like the idea that it's Voldemort just because it's an interesting hint at the Horcrux in him at a very early point in the series. What were you gonna
I
say?
want. I said I want to know why Dumbledore's nails are so gross.
I was literally just thinking that, like his nails are
Like there's no ring on his finger to blacken his hand. Like what's going on? Do we not know how to manicure?
they're
I'm sure
so
there's a spell for that.
thick. They're so thick too. It's just like, good God, my dude.
That's fungus.
Ugh.
Okay,
Sirius Black
question.
is in the castle.
I know how to get into the Gryffindor common room. It's the fucking fat lady, and you need to give her the
Mhm.
password.
Yeah.
I know that for Ravenclaw, you have to answer a riddle.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get into Hufflepuff, and how do you get into Slytherin?
Hufflepuff. Um, I Slytherin is a stone wall. I know that. That's supposed to look no different than all of the other ones. You just know it's a certain distance past, like I believe, a tapestry, and then it's there. I'm not entirely sure what the process of getting into it is. I just know it's a stone wall.
Okay.
Hufflepuff.
Like I
I
know
feel
it's
like
near the kitchens. I know that much.
yeah.
Also, I love this scene in the Great Hall where all the kids are camping out. And I want to say, like, there's no fucking way this is every single student at Hogwarts. There's no way they could fit all of them in the fucking Great Hall.
Fair.
But,
It's
but,
go ahead.
but the part where they they're stepping in front of like behind Harry and talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I think it was Snape, like Alan Rickman put like a whoopee cushion or whatever
Yeah.
behind Dan, so he just keeps setting it off,
That was hilarious.
and Dan's like, "What's happening?"
Okay, so according to the wonderful world of Google, in order to reveal the entrance of the Hufflepuff common room, no password is required. Instead, one must tap the barrel 2 from the bottom, middle of the second row, to the rhythm of Helga Hufflepuff, which would make the lid swing open, exposing a passageway that would lead to the basement when crawled through. Why did they make
That
these poor students crawl?
See, I think out of all the ones that I know about on how to get into the common room, I would
Mhm.
want to be in the Hufflepuff one because the fat lady, she's fickle as fuck.
Yeah,
I don't have the patience to solve a riddle when I'm stressed
that's fair.
at all. I don't know how to get into Slytherin, but like the Hufflepuff, I just gotta fucking tap something to a rhythm that I'm gonna memorize in the first like 2 weeks of being there. Come on.
Yeah, no shit. Because it would really just be like a 1 2 1 2 3 kind of a tap
Yeah.
too. So the Google says that for the Slytherin common room, there is a door on the right side of the entrance hall. If coming down the marble staircase facing the front doors of the castle, that is most frequently used by Slytherin students to get to their common room. Behind the door was a set of stone steps that descended into the dungeons. That doesn't make any sense. Why would they just? There's just a standard door. Everybody else is hidden. Why would Slytherin's just be a door?
There's gotta be something behind it, something extra.
Because I'd read somewhere that it was just a wall. Like there was just like a wall, and then a certain distance past like a tapestry, you knew that that's what was there. Considering how paranoid Salazar Slytherin was, there's no way the entrance to his common room is just a fucking door.
Salazar would not leave it as just a simple
As a
door.
door, no.
No,
Like
there's
now,
no way.
paranoia of it just being an absolute blank wall with no markings on it, yeah.
Harry's like, it's Quidditch. I don't have time to write a 2-scroll paper, and Snape's just like,
And like it's
I don't
a
care.
2-foot essay. That's like 2 pages. That's not even that long.
That's nothing.
That's nothing.
They're not asking you. He's not asking you to list sources or like write your what's it called?
Yeah, like writing a bibliography.
Your bibliography,
or
right?
like
Like,
footnotes or anything. Just write about it for.
right.
My worst thing would be just trying to get people to read my handwriting in quill ink. Like, I would invest in one of those quills that writes for you.
I'm sure there's. I was gonna say. I'm sure there's a spell or a type
There
of
would
quill
have
you
to
can
be.
get that will just dictate whatever you write.
There would definitely have
Because
to be. My
Rita
handwriting
Skeeter has her enchanted quill that
yeah
basically tells a story every time she opens her
yeah.
mouth.
And like I wouldn't even need that. I would just need one that like I could just like say stuff to, and it would write it. And then like you could just use like the Scourgify spell, the cleaning spell, to like remove the ink of like if you didn't like the way the sentence was, you know, and then just like replace it with the next sentence and all that. Because God, writing essays on plain paper would kill me.
The kids are being fucking electrocuted.
Technically, that would have been Cedric Diggory. Like they're at the Quidditch match, and it's in the rain and everything like that. And there's a bunch of like it's a storm, and it's Hufflepuff versus Gryffindor, and it's Harry with the Hufflepuff Seeker. But that's Cedric Diggory is their Seeker, so technically that was Cedric Diggory. And I love Harry, stupid little Harry. Who I really hope those goggles he's wearing are prescription goggles, by the way, because he's not wearing his glasses. But also, like, you're up there literally watching your broom freeze to death, knowing there are Dementors out there, and that when they landed on your train, that they froze the glass on the train. So why would you not assume that's what was happening now? Also the
fact that it is Harry Potter. What's the word I'm looking for? Trouble is attracted to this man like a moth to a flame.
Yep.
You know the Dementors are gonna find some way to get him, or something is gonna happen to Harry. It's like, so why are you putting him in the situation that is guaranteed to get him into some kind of trouble?
Yep.
He is free falling from the fucking sky. Like, come on.
Yes, he is. He does. Dumbledore doesn't even use a fucking wand. He just sticks his hand out there and is like, nope.
So I did ask Reddit why Fred is the more popular twin, and someone wrote that maybe it's the fact that, you know, he's the flirtier twin, or like he's always mentioned more. Like it's always Fred and George, not George and Fred.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, and then maybe there's a, like, do you have any recollection of JK saying anything about why Fred is more popular than George? Like, I'm discounting anyone that says because he's fucking dead. Like, that's not an answer I'm looking for.
Yeah. I get that. Like, I don't know. I don't really remember him being flirtier in the books than George. But then again, considering the significant amounts of fan fiction I've read, it's hard to distinguish the two in certain levels. So.
Like someone commented saying that, you know, we see Fred, you know, flirt and ask someone out to the dance, and I'm just like, yes, but doesn't George turn around and immediately do the same thing?
Yeah, he turns around because they both go with dates. So
yeah, like Fred, like, or one of them asks like Angelina Johnson at like one in the common room, and one asks them at, you know, ask their date at like
dinner,
their
right?
table. Yeah. So it's like neither of the boys are less flirtatious than the other.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't understand why Fred is the more popular one.
I don't either. I really don't. It's bizarre.
How much you want to bet that this little island in their lake is like the home of the giant squid that lives there? Just the very tippy top.
Maybe. I still like the theory that the giant squid is Godric Gryffindor.
Well, yeah. I just imagine that's Godric in his giant squid form, and he's made a home under that little mountain, little island.
Why not? I'd still like to know if the lake is salt, because that's where like giant squids live, in the fucking ocean, not in the lake.
I want to say yes.
It might be, because it's got that's salt water. That's a good point. I love how Harry is just walking through snow, leaving footprints while wearing his invisibility cloak. Like,
and Fred and George are just waiting there. It's like, yeah, we see you.
Yeah, it's just like, it doesn't take a fucking Einstein to see the magically appearing footprints, Harry. You ever see the interview where somebody asked them if they were really twins or if they met during the audition process?
What the fuck?
Yeah. That was pretty much what they said. Like, what? Like, yeah, no.
Duh.
I would like to know how Fred and George came up with the idea of saying, I solemnly swear I am up to no good.
Right? I was reading that somewhere where it's like, how did these two knuckleheads like decide to grab, like, what was going through their heads when they grabbed this off Filch's desk?
Yeah.
Like, among all the other shit that's there, they just grabbed this parchment, and then they somehow figured out the combination of words.
Yeah. They must have had a, like, full-on conversation, because, like, when you pick up the paper and you try to open it without the password, like, the Prongs and Padfoot and everybody talk back to you.
Yeah,
like,
they insult you.
Yeah, so they must have actually gotten to the point of having like a conversation, even to a limited degree of it, and have, because I imagine the Marauders kind of set up like this idea: if somebody finds it who is interested in using it for mischief, they can, and like would be able to get hints from them, like their like their spirit or whatever the hell is put into this map that lets it talk back. And that was what, like, and it gives you hints and stuff like that, and they probably spend a lot of time guessing before it like unleashes itself.
And only the twins would be able to figure it out because
Oh yeah, only the twins would have the dedication to mischief long enough to sit there with that kind of diligence and figure it out.
Yeah. I do, however, one of my gripes with Hermione was how adamant she was that Harry turned in this piece of paper. It's like, why?
Early book Hermione is very annoying in a lot of ways, because she does a lot of things that are just like, really, girl, come on, loosen up a little. And it's just like kills all fun and joy out there as is humanly possible. Like turning in absolutely, like the potions textbook. And then, this, because the thing that pisses me off about wanting to turn in the potions textbook is the fact that, like, up until the point that he uses the spell out of it, there wasn't anything wrong with it.
No.
It was just using notes another student had made, using the diligence of another student. And then, like, wanting to turn in the map. And it's just like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Like,
It's
don't
like,
just take all of the fun and joy out of everything.
yeah, it's like, someone gifted Harry, the cloak of invisibility, and
Yeah.
Hermione saying, tell Dumbledore about it. It's like,
Dumbledore's
why?
the one he fucking got it from. Like, Jesus. Like, and for one thing, the invisibility cloak specifically was Harry's dad's first.
Oh, yeah.
But,
And Dumbledore just had it.
Which I still think is bullshit.
But yeah. I'm just like, why are you telling a boy who's being denied a lot of fun?
Yeah.
To not find ways around it? Like, come on.
I would like to know, how does Harry manage to torment like Draco and like Crabbe and Goyle as much as he does without revealing himself? Like, he grabs like one of them by the scarf and like helps pull them and swing them around. How did you grab them without your hands showing through the cloak? Like, because that cloak isn't so long that, like, if I stick my arms directly out in front of me, that, like, my feet aren't gonna show.
That's true, because in the books, he talks about, like, it is mentioned how, like, as the years go by and as they get taller and bigger, they have to start, like, crouching when it's, like, the three of them underneath, because if they don't, like, you're gonna see their feet.
It's not that tall, yeah. Yeah, and it's just like, come on. Like, that's kind of weird.
I love how Madame Rosmerta goes after Fudge with a fucking hammer.
And don't you just love how Harry, as he's walking into the Leaky Cauldron, and he learns a bunch of shit about his family and about Sirius and how Sirius was his godfather and everything. Like, he finds out shit about his family in the worst ways possible.
He has to find out, like, he ends up finding out all this information about his own goddamn family through word of mouth by sneaking around, because no one tells this boy shit. No one prepares him for anything.
They don't prepare him for anything, but something that pisses me off is the fact that, like, he never asks. Harry doesn't ask about his family. He just fucking finds some shit. Also, why is McGonagall, a bartender, and the Minister of Magic having a gossip session in a tavern room? Like, are these, like, little gossip pen pals? Like, what the fuck?
That's a good question.
Like, that is such a weird combination. A tavern keeper, a teacher, and the Minister of Magic are all having a conversation. Also, Harry really needs to learn to control his breathing, because every time he's under this cloak of invisibility, people stare right where he is. He must be over there going, it's like, Jesus, Harry.
Because Fudge stops mid-pour with his drink going, the fuck did I just hear?
Snape's done it before, too, like in the previous movie.
Snape's even reached his hand down and be like, something's there.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a gripe. With how smart McGonagall is and how close she is with Dumbledore.
Yeah.
How did she not figure out that Sirius was never a bad guy?
No shit. She knew him for all 7 years he was in school. Like, come on. And he was
how does she not put two and two together? Like,
and he was a member of the Order of the Phoenix.
She's too smart to fall for that stupid bullshit story they came up with.
Yeah. And it's just like,
She
come
teaches
on.
transfiguration, and
Yeah.
she as herself is an animagus. Like, did you not realize that there's something weird that like a generation, like 7 generations of this family have the same fucking rat?
Yeah, that too. And like Ron uses Peter in like his transfiguration stuff of trying to transform him into things, and it's not working. Like something should tick in your head that, hey, that's weird. But when he uses another animal, that's fine. Like he does well with the other animals. Like what the fuck? And why is it when you hit Peter Pettigrew, like say, because there are times when like Ron has turned him like into a teacup and stuff like that. That was one of
Yeah.
their lessons, and he gets stuck halfway. Why is it that when they do the reverse spell to undo the transfiguration, he doesn't just pop back into being a full person?
Right?
Why does it only reduce the like undo one transfiguration spell and not all of it? And he just turns back into fucking Peter Pettigrew right there in front of Ronald Weasley. Like that should definitely have been what happens, not like it's just fine and just goes completely over their head. But also, McGonagall should definitely have known that the Marauders were animaguses, because like it's a multi-month long process. At one point you have to spend an entire month with a mandrake leaf in your mouth. Like that's one of the steps of becoming an animagus. You can't hide that. You can't hide. You just keeping a fucking leaf in your mouth. Like, what are you supposed to do? If you talk, you're just like, oh my god, I got a leaf in your mouth. Or you use like a sticking charm to like temporarily stick it to the side of your mouth or whatever. Like, somebody's gonna notice that. And definitely somebody who's had to do it before is probably gonna notice that. And not to mention all the other fucking steps you have to go through to become an animagus. Like, no, McGonagall should have put her shit together. But then again, as brilliant as McGonagall is, she clearly lacks some of the common sense that all wizards do. As much as that pains me to admit. We've done a lot of bullshit talking. There's a lot of Apple sidetracking, and there was a lot of like Bogart talk, and then there was just a bunch of bullshit talk in the beginning. So
a lot of drapple.
Oh, God. I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, regret mentioning that. I sincerely regret the word Draco Malfoy and Apple just coming out of my face. I know far too many deep dark secrets about this fandom to just be throwing them out there, and I should have left it alone. But you don't read fan fiction too, so I enjoy like presenting you with some of the weirdness of the deep dark pits of the abyss of our fandom.
I enjoy the weird, and I enjoy this stupid apple that I have made.
I should have let Drapple die. But also, I will tell you that Tom Felton is aware of Drapple.
I'm sure Tom is aware of every single Draco fanfic, Draco mention, whatever that is out there.
Yeah, fans told him at like some kind of meet and greet thing, and because that's where he usually learns all the weird stuff. Because that's where he learned about the Harry Potter musicals and all that too. So, because he was like, because they asked him if he liked the person who played the portrayal of Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter musicals. And he's like, well, I haven't seen them, and I was like, I didn't know there were any, but I'm sure that he does a really good job. And they're like, she, and he's like, she. He's like, okay. She. So, which we should definitely watch.
Yes, I do want to watch a Harry Potter musical.
Oh my god, girl, I fucking love a Harry Potter musical. You'll love it. So.
I think Ari needs to be in on that one.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, see, because I'm gonna watch a bunch of movies with you guys that you guys have seen and I haven't. So we'll watch the Harry Potter musicals because I've seen them and you guys haven't seen them.
Yes.
Yes. So it's a good trade-off. So, but yeah, that'll be really good. So, why don't we pause it here as Harry looks like he's trying to make out with the Dementor, in Remus's. Well, it's not his classroom. I honestly don't know. It's a room full of globes, in all honesty. I can assume it's part of the astronomy tower. I will say, I have
a feeling they just picked an empty classroom.
It's the coolest looking classroom I think I've ever seen. But also, it's covered in candles that, like the wax is made to look like spines, like human spines, and that's just fucking cool.
Yeah,
that's really, really just fucking cool. So, but yeah, So I think we'll cut it here, guys. It's been a ride. There's been Bogart lectures. There's been unfortunate
It's been a
Apple
lot of
incidents.
deep connections on this one.
Yeah, there's like calling Harry an idiot again.
That's
Again.
nothing new. That's gonna happen
It's
throughout this
not.
whole damn thing.
But like, and also, please, please reach out to us on social media, on our website, whatever, and explain to us why Fred is the more popular twin.
I've already asked Reddit, and I'm not, I've gotten some answers, but I want fan answers. I want people really dig into this theory as to why the fuck Fred is more popular than George.
And he is. And for the love of all things magical, I can't even begin to tell you why. So reach out to us. Tell us why you think that Fred is the more popular twin. Or if, in your opinion, George is the more popular twin. Why you like one over the other. If you have a favorite one way or the other. And next time we will try to do more trivia, because I think we honestly did more trivia at the beginning
We did
of the
not
episode
do. Yeah,
before we watched the movie.
We didn't do a lot.
Yeah. So we'll try to do more for the next half. But yeah, so hit us up, tell us your Fred George theories, and quite frankly, if you know of any other really weird, deep, dark secrets of the Harry Potter fandom, like Drapple, because Draco Malfoy shipped with an apple is fucking nightmare. It's become my night. That's my new Bogart. Is Draco Malfoy walking out of that closet holding an apple? That's my new Bogart. Oh my god.
Oh god.
Yeah. Well, I know what my Bogart is now. So cool.
As just fuel for fodder for me, so I can just keep making Drapple stuff.
One of us is gonna make a shirt, and it's gonna be like an apple, and it's just gonna say my Bogart is Draco Malfoy and an apple.
That's what I'm changing this to. I'm doing that right now.
Oh god. Okay. On that note, I don't even know if therapy can fix this. Jesus Christ.
No, we're fucked.
I need an obliviate spell, please. Jesus. Okay. Thank you for suffering with me as I have introduced Ani to one of the worst parts of our fandom. Truly one of the bowels of our fandom. But hit us up with any other rare, weird, or just unfortunate aspects of our fandom besides, the littler stuff, not the bigger stuff like J.K. Rowling's entire opinions on everything. But hit us up with more Drapple level bullshit and about Fred and George. So, thank you for joining us on this ride, and we will come back to prison next week.
We're coming back to prison, yeah.
We got 2 lifetime sentences, guys. We gotta come back.
We gotta figure out how Barty Crouch Jr. pulled it off.
Yeah, no shit, right? The funny thing is, this being an unregistered animagus is a sentence into Azkaban, I think, for like 10 years or something like that. But if you never actually tell them what your animal is, you can just use it to escape.
Well, there you go.
Like, if your animagus is supposed to be what your Patronus is, which in my case would be a robin, which means I could just fly out the fucking window.
Mine is a white ferret.
See, you could slip right through the bars, no issues.
I just slipped right through.
Oh god, what did you say? The worst part, the absolute worst part, is that thing that I was reading, and the sentence ended in juicy, and then I said the words apple juicy. That was me. That was my own original statement. That wasn't written on the fic. When I was reading it, my thoughts went juicy. They really just missed the opportunity to say apple juicy, and I made the very poor life decision to say that out loud. So
I'm making a duplicate so I can have that. Just both. I can have my bogart is and apple juicy.
Oh god. Well, come back next week just to listen to me suffer, guys. Just to listen to me fucking suffer. We should be releasing a trailer pretty soon if we haven't released it already, so get interested in that. after we're done with The Prisoner of Azkaban, we're going to be hitting up some 90s trivia, and we're going to find
Hopefully,
out.
we do much better with the 90s than we do with the 80s.
Honestly, I sincerely hope so. We're going to find out how little I know about actual 90s actors and movies, but it should be better than the 80s, because at least Ani and I were alive.
So, anyway, thank you guys, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Tune in next week for more fuckery because we have some serious questions and concerns.